Hey everybody, Joe here. We're going to discuss some interesting things about Greenland. I thought it would be kind of interesting to do a show on this because it is the topic of the news right now. Uh, Doing these types of shows, man, it's hard because with Trump, lots of news all the time. I mean, I could pump out videos if I had the time. I could pump out 100 videos a day. There's so much that happens in one day under Trump. Like just it's our government working. You know what I'm saying? Between the ICE raids, between the lawsuits that they're winning at the federal level, at the SCOTUS level, it's just insane what's always constantly happening. There's EOs being signed. He's making announcements on his page on Truth. It's like, oh my god! But I thought we'd slow it down just a little bit and take a look at some things about Greenland and some aspects to Greenland regarding why it's important to the United States. I thought that would be an interesting show. So without further ado, let's get going. All right, guys. So we're gonna start here on this video. I found this on YouTube. It's from Interesting Engineering, and you may or may not know this, but we've had a long history in Greenland, and this is one example of that. So let's take a look at this, and it's a 13-minute long video. I'll probably stop it if I need to or whatever, and to talk or whatever, and we will take a look at this. So let's go. Let's dive in.
Today on the island of Greenland, as part of man's continuing efforts to master the secrets of survival in the Arctic, the United States Army has established an unprecedented nuclear-powered Arctic Research Center.
During an April 2024 flyover of Greenland, NASA scientists made an incredible discovery, uncovering the remnants of a hidden city buried deep beneath the ice. "We were looking for the bed of the ice, and out pops Camp Century," said Alex Gardner, a NASA cryospheric scientist. "We didn't know what it was at first." Camp Century was a Cold War-era US military base that today lies buried under 100 feet of the Greenland ice sheet. NASA's Chad Green, aboard a Gulfstream 3 aircraft, captured a striking radar image revealing the site. This eerie discovery is part of an effort to map Greenland's ice using advanced radar technology, though uncovering an abandoned base wasn't on the agenda. Built in 1959 by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Camp Century once stretched across 21 underground tunnels spanning 9,800 feet. Camp Century was no ordinary base. Constructed in one of the planet's harshest climates, with temperatures plummeting to minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit and winds exceeding 120 miles per hour, the base housed 200 soldiers. Officially a research facility, it also concealed Project Iceworm, a covert plan to store nuclear missiles in ice tunnels for potential strikes on the Soviet Union. However, the dynamic and unstable ice made the project unworkable. By 1967, the base was decommissioned, leaving behind hazardous materials, including 47,000 gallons of radioactive waste. According to the Atomic Heritage Foundation, this waste and the remnants of Camp Century remain entombed beneath the ice. The secrets of Project Iceworm lay hidden for decades, only coming to light in January 1995 during an inquiry by the Danish Foreign Policy Institute. The investigation was prompted by Denmark's parliament after the release of previously classified information about the 1968 B-52 crash at Thule Air Base. This information contradicted earlier government claims, sparking questions about the history of nuclear weapons use and storage in Greenland. Revelations continued in 1997 when Denmark published documents detailing the US Army's Iceworm plans. The project, outlined in a 1960 report titled Strategic Value of the Greenland Ice Cap, proposed an expansive missile network buried beneath Greenland's ice sheet. If fully realized, it would span a staggering 52,000 square miles, an area 3 times the size of Denmark. The design called for launch complex floors to be buried 28 feet below the ice surface, with missile launchers housed even deeper. Clusters of launch centers, spaced 4 miles apart, would be interconnected by a network of tunnels. To keep the system operational and unpredictable,
recently signed
new
an
tunnels were
order
to be
to be-
excavated annually. After 5 years, thousands of firing positions would be available, allowing the missiles to be continually rotated among them. The scale and ambition of Iceworm were breathtaking, but its full scope remained a secret until decades after it was quietly shelved.
So it was quietly shelved. This is our government at work. We build a giant base. This is how it used to be. Okay. And you sit here and you go, where does all the money go? Well, we found that out with USAID. This is the stuff that we don't really know about, right? This is the other stuff, right? So we build this giant thing, despite all the effort it took to do it under the ice and everything. And then the next thing you know, we're just like, we're shelving it. You know what I'm saying? How much money was wasted and what would that be worth in today's world is what I want to know. It's just insane, guys.
Camp Century was an ambitious Arctic subsurface camp constructed using cut-and-cover trenching. Its layout featured a network of parallel trenches housing various buildings and facilities. Designed for a lifespan of 10 years with proper maintenance, the camp was actively manned for 5 years and ultimately abandoned after 8. The camp's trenches, built in 1959, quickly succumbed to the relentless pressure of the ice. Within just 4 years, the vertical and horizontal compression pushed the trenches to their design limits, necessitating extensive snow trimming to keep them functional. The largest trench, covered by a steel arch, spanned an impressive 1,100 feet in length and stood 26 feet tall and wide. Maintenance and waste disposal presented ongoing challenges. Snow trimming was a constant necessity to preserve the structural integrity of the trenches. The camp's sewage system also proved problematic. A sump located 150 feet from the nearest building initially lacked proper ventilation, leading to an overwhelming odor in nearby living quarters during the first year. Venting reduced the stench, but failed to address the underlying issue. By 1962, core samples revealed that liquid waste had spread up to 170 feet horizontally, exacerbating trench deformation and odor in areas housing sleeping quarters. Despite the challenges, Camp Century offered remarkable protection against the harsh Arctic elements. It boasted modern facilities, including bathrooms, dining areas, and medical support, along with prefabricated buildings neatly tucked into the trenches. The camp was well equipped, with vehicles and ample storage for fuel and food. The base also featured one of the first portable nuclear reactors, which powered the site, called the PM-2A. The Army called the reactor portable, even at 330 tons, because it was built from pieces that can fit in a C-130 cargo plane. The PM-2A was the third child of a family of 8 Army reactors, several of them experiments in portable nuclear power. The early portable nuclear reactors were anything but success stories. The PM-3A, for example, affectionately or perhaps ironically nicknamed Nuki Poo, installed at the US Navy base in McMurdo Sound, Antarctica, this reactor left a troubling legacy. Over its 10-year lifespan, it suffered 438 malfunctions, including a cracked and leaking containment vessel that created a nuclear mess in one of the planet's most pristine environments. Then there was SL-1, a stationary low-power reactor located in Idaho. Its tragic...
Oh, but guys, we've improved this so much. This is the best. This is the best energy you can get. Blah 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 blah. Like I get it can produce a lot of power from one small plant, but like I don't give a crap what people say, man. Just seeing what one of these things messing up from some person screwing something up to just a simple malfunction. I'm not down with it personally. I mean, I know I'll probably get some hate in the comments. I don't care, and I don't care what anybody else says about it.
history culminated in a catastrophic explosion during a routine refueling operation, killing all 3 men on duty and forever marking it as one of the darker chapters in reactor history. The SM-1 still quietly looms just 12 miles from the White House at Fort Belvoir, Virginia. Originally built for $2 million, the reactor now faces a $68 million cleanup cost, a stark reminder of the long-term price of nuclear experiments. The ML-1, meanwhile, stood out as the only truly mobile reactor of its time, but for all the wrong reasons. Despite its ambitious design, it never really worked, leaving its promise of mobility and functionality unfulfilled. The PM-2A was built in 18 months. It arrived at Thule Air Force Base in Greenland in July 1960 and was dragged 138 miles across the ice sheet in pieces and then assembled at Camp Century. When the reactor went critical for the first time in October, the engineers turned it off immediately as it leaked neutrons. The Army fashioned lead shields and built walls of 55-gallon drums filled with ice and sawdust, trying to protect the operators from radiation. The PM-2A reactor operated for just 2 years, providing fossil fuel-free power and heat, but at a dangerous cost. Along with energy, it produced an excess of stray neutrons, far more than was safe, and these rogue particles wreaked havoc. The relentless neutron bombardment gradually turned the reactor's steel pipes and vessel increasingly radioactive, creating long-term contamination risks. Even the snow around the site wasn't spared, with traces of radioactive sodium appearing in the pristine Arctic environment. To make matters worse, cooling water leaked from the reactor, carrying dozens of radioactive isotopes. This not only posed a serious radiation hazard to personnel, but also left a troubling legacy etched into the surrounding ice, a chilling reminder of the reactor's brief but impactful run. Camp Century was shut down in 1967. The camp's reactor, the PM-2A, didn't escape controversy. Found to be highly radioactive, it was dismantled and buried in an Idaho nuclear waste dump. Yet Army records hint at a more troubling legacy. Radioactive cooling water from the reactor had been left buried in a sump within the Greenland ice sheet. In 2016, scientists revisiting Camp Century sounded an alarming warning. As Greenland's ice continues to melt due to climate change, the buried camp and its toxic waste, lead, fuel oil, PCBs, and possibly radiation, could resurface by 2100. This revelation sparked diplomatic tension between the US, Denmark, and Greenland. Who would bear the responsibility for cleaning up the site and addressing the potential environmental catastrophe? The question remains unanswered, casting a long shadow over Camp Century's icy legacy. However, despite these problems, in October 1965, the US Army concluded that subsurface ice camps were both feasible and practical, with nuclear power offering distinct advantages. Camp Century's legacy extends beyond Cold War history. Soil cores recovered during its operation have been invaluable in understanding Earth's ancient climate. Studied with modern techniques, these cores reveal that Greenland was once a lush, verdant region home to mastodons, forests, and diverse wildlife. During NASA's advanced radar technology, the April 2024 survey offered unprecedented clarity of Camp Century's layout. The technology, known as Uninhabited Aerial Vehicle Synthetic Aperture Radar, is designed to map the internal layers of ice sheets and the bedrock below. Camp Century remains frozen for now, but there are concerns about Greenland's melting ice potentially exposing its buried waste. For now, the rediscovery offers a fascinating glimpse into military history. It also serves as a reminder of the enduring consequences of Cold War-era activities. As scientists continue to explore the icy depths of Greenland, Camp Century reminds us of human creativity and engineering skills. It also highlights the unexpected outcomes of bold projects from the past.
Remember to hit the subscribe button.
All right, so that was just a little history of the fact that, we have been in Greenland for a while. So this is a post from Trump on Truth Social, and I'll read it to you now. Let me just make it a little bigger for you all. So the United States needs Greenland for the purposes of national security. It is vital for the Golden Dome. That's important to note that. The reason that it's important is because of the location of Greenland. We actually, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe we have a little bit of the kind of missile protection from there now. Matter of fact, while I'm at it, why don't I just verify what I'm saying to you? Because I'm pretty sure that I read that, but we should check. So I asked Grok, does the USA have missile defenses in Greenland now? Okay, so no, they do not currently have missile defense interceptors like those that would shoot down incoming missiles deployed in Greenland as of January 2026. However, the U.S. maintains a significant and long-standing military presence there focused on missile warning, that's what it is, missile warning, early detection, and related defense support at Pituffik Space Base, formerly known as Thule Air Base. This base is operated by the U.S. Space Force under agreements with Denmark dating back to 1951, even though the Space Force didn't exist back then. With radar upgrades allowed via 2004 cooperation agreements, hosted 12 Space Warning Squadron. So anyway, back to this. If we don't, Russia or China will, and that's not going to happen militarily without the vast power of the United States, much of which I built during the first term and am now bringing to new and even higher level. NATO would not be an effective force or deterrent, not even close. They know that, and so do I. NATO becomes far more formidable and effective with Greenland in the hands of the United States. Anything less than that is unacceptable. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So my take on that whole situation there is basically that NATO wants us to get, attacked. Here, let me bring this up really quick.
Jorgen, what do you make of Jason Miller talking to GB News there, describing this talk of the US potentially taking over Greenland as just a silly distraction?
Because I can't hear it on my end. So what we'll do is we'll do something just a smidge different. There we go. Let me bring it up on here. I'll pause it and we'll take a look at this. There we go. So... Really, bro? Now it's not gonna do what I need it to do. There we go. Okay, so let's take a listen to this guy. He's from Greenland. I think he's a politician there. Let's take a listen to him.
Jorgen, what do you make of Jason Miller talking to GB News there, describing this talk of the US potentially taking over Greenland as just a silly distraction?
No, I think he has a good point, Mr. Trump, because we living in the Arctic, and the Arctic is so big, and also the Danish cannot handle that surveillance of the Arctic or also Greenland. The ship is around 40 years old, or they have a lot of problems. So that situation is not good for Trump. Because we are the front yard of U.S. and we are next to the Russia, and the Chinese want to go through the Northwest Passage in the winter, summer, and winter time now.
And Jorgen, you actually facilitated the visit of Donald Trump Jr. to Greenland last year, didn't you? I think it's exactly a year tomorrow, actually. What was it like having the US there? Because they were already showing an interest in Greenland at that point.
I think it's very important that we have the voice. We have never been heard from the European and the world, because we was annexed in 1953 without referendum from Denmark. So we have the highest suicide rate in the world, and crime and the poverty among the people. Even with the same with Kingdom of Denmark. If you go to Denmark, this is one of the 5 richest countries in the world. But if you go to Greenland, is another situation. So people are tired of that. That's why the Danish politician.
So he's saying that Denmark takes care of Denmark, but Greenland kind of gets the shaft.
And the elite in Greenland are very afraid to lose control for what they have. Right now, it's Trump's interest is very good for the indigenous people, because we are not recognized as a people in Greenland. We are forced to be Danish citizens, and this have to be reminder for Keir Starmer from Greenland as an Inuit. We are not recognized people, and please, European, just leave us alone. We want to work with the Americans. The European has been working with the American in 80 years, so it's now our time and turn. So, and
so Jürgen, just to get this straight for people, you are in favor then of an American takeover. You wouldn't be against it.
I don't know what we can say about takeover, because we don't know what he wants, but we have opportunity to work with the Americans, to see what will the future be, because right now the young generation will not go to Denmark because the racial structural racism against the Inuit here in Denmark, and people not feel welcomed here. So this situation is, it is new chance for the Inuit people in Greenland. So we are not afraid. Let us see what happens. But our politician has been ruled by the Danish Prime Minister and the King in Denmark. So I think they're now in bad standing. Our government in Greenland, they're happy to hostile to Mr. Trump, and Trump has been very, polite and very respect us as waiting for what going to happen.
All right, so there you have it. He was a little hard to understand, but you got the gist of it, I think. So, currently they live in an ice-filled kind of mess that we apparently built a nuclear reactor under that failed. But, they could have this in Greenland. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying these are the possibilities, folks. So all I'm saying is this is Trump talking about the Golden Dome.
Mr. President, add this to the long and growing list of promises made and promises kept. Ultimately, this right here, the Golden Dome for America, is game changer. It's a generational investment in the security of America and Americans. Mr. President, you said we're to secure our southern border and get 100% operational control after the previous administration allowed an invasion of people into our country. President Reagan 40 years ago cast the vision for it. The technology wasn't there. Now it is, and you're following through to say we will protect the homeland from cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, drones, whether they're conventional or nuclear. It's not lost on me, sir, also that you had the vision to start the Space Force. And here we are, when the others said we didn't need it, here we are.
And that's what kills me. This dude's doing things for America that no other president would even dream of doing or even bother doing. We saw what we get with Democrats under Biden. We saw what we get with Democrats under Obama. We saw what we get with fake Republican rhinos like Obama's cousin George W. Bush Jr. or George W. Bush. What is it? Just George W. Whatever. Who cares? You know what I'm talking about. We've seen it. Okay. And Reagan had the vision to do these things, but they didn't have the technology back then. We have the technology now. Trump, if you had seen what was said at SpaceX the other day by Pete Hegseth, we are moving in a direction to where nobody is going to want to activate our military for any purpose. We will be untouchable. And that is the point. That is what other countries are doing, but yet we were more worried about making commercials with a girl and her two lesbian moms. We were more worried about, transgenders in the military instead of actual protection for our country, the stuff that matters, the technology that we need, the equipment that our soldiers need, things like that. Greenland is essential to the United States. I was looking for another video too where they interviewed some Greenland residents, and I guess it's similar to America on the ground there. There's a Fox News clip where there's people from Greenland that are like, oh, we don't want it. And then RT did a propaganda piece about how Greenlanders are scared at night that they're going to get invaded and blah, blah, blah. And then there was a couple other ones that I had found. I thought I bookmarked. I swear to God, these bookmarks don't always stay save, especially on my phone. I've caught it not clicking. So I got to double check that stuff. But there were other videos of Greenlanders who want this because of what you just heard in that last video. So it's essential to the Golden Dome, really, because a lot of those missiles might come over the top here, right here, come over the top towards America because of where Russia and everybody's located, China and so on. So
we are in the Oval Office with one of the leaders of the Space Force in General Gutlein, leading the charge on putting in place a game-changing Golden Dome for America. So, sir, it's an honor to be a part of this bold initiative. We're going to get to work on it. We have been since you signed that executive order on January 27th. We've been fast forward on this. We're here on this day, and this is just one stop in delivering this defense of the homeland, which is something you've charged us with doing, and we'll keep going until it is complete, sir.
Thank you, Pete. Pete's doing a great job, by the way. Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
all right, and that was from around last year when they announced it. Let's take a listen to this.
America's northernmost air base has been Greenland for over 70 years. And the U.S. has maintained a military presence in Greenland since World War II, when we were saving the butts of Denmark. President Trump's interest in Greenland is not for some random real estate scheme.
Correct. It's also not for oil. Nobody really truly knows if Greenland even has enough oil that would be worth bothering for any of this. Okay, you can look this up yourself. There was some survey, geological survey, that estimated a possible amount of oil that equals that of the United States, but it's not been proven. This is an estimate from a survey. They currently had a moratorium on drilling to protect the Greenland ice, and they also only have a couple of oil rigs running now, and they have attempted to set up others to see if there's even any oil where they think it is, and it failed. So nobody's actually truly sure how much oil is even in Greenland to begin with. Like I said, we've got estimates, but no proof. So at the end of the day, all of this nonsense, oh, they're doing it for the resources. No, we're doing it for the Golden Dome and our own defense. And if we decide we want resources, guess what? That benefits Greenland too, because ain't nobody else doing it. It is what it is, right? Like, just like we're doing with Venezuela. We just started selling their oil, and that had been processed probably by Iran or some other country that they gave us, and they're going to benefit from it. Congress is probably going to fight Trump on that, even though he has the legal authority to do so.
The U.S. has a long history of interaction with Greenland. It's the world's largest island, which is 3 times the size of Texas. That's mighty big, I reckon, as we would say in Texas. At its closest point, the western coast of Greenland is 16 miles from Canada, you know, the 51st state. It's a population of over 56,000 people, mostly Inuit, or Eskimos, if you want to be completely politically incorrect. Denmark has essentially ruled Greenland as part of its kingdom since the 1700s. Nations buying territory from each other, that was a normal thing. 1917, bought some islands just southeast of Puerto Rico. What happened? We bought it for $25 million, $650 million in today's dollars. Those were the islands we renamed, bing, the U.S. Virgin Islands. The purchase was made largely because the U.S. was about to enter World War I, and there was fear that Germany would use the islands as a naval base that would threaten American interests in the region, especially the Panama Canal. Uh-oh. So let me just ask you this. So it's okay when progressive hero President Woodrow Wilson buys some islands for national security reasons, but it's insane when President Trump wants to do it.
Exactly.
I just want to get it straight there. Now, fast forward to 1940 when Nazi Germany occupied Denmark. That's when we moved. And we moved to Greenland with a base of operations to keep the Germans from going to Greenland and grabbing Greenland. When it became clear after the war that A, the U.S. has a massive new problem on its hands with the Soviet Union, and B, that Denmark was never going to do squat with a giant empty island anyway, President Harry Truman offered to buy Greenland for $100 million in gold. Okay, Denmark said, nah, I don't think so. We want it. By 1951, the U.S. had an agreement with Denmark that made America the military defender of Greenland. The Pentagon built a ridiculously named Air Force base. I think it's Bidufik. Oh, there it is, Bidufik, space base. Oh, yeah. Anyway, it's an air base 750 miles north of the Arctic Circle on the northwestern coast of Greenland.
The job was to build a giant air base for our largest long-range bombers high on the northwest coast of Greenland at a tiny settlement called Thule. Built with the permission of the Danish government, the base would push our defense line 2,000 miles to the north.
Oh, my gosh.
I just want to pause that because he actually showed what I was just telling you a few minutes ago. Look at this. Do you see where we're located? So all I'm saying is that it's important. You know what I'm saying?
2,000 miles to the north.
So Bidufik, the airbase, so remote that there's only one way in or out. It's military flight. Or a ship that comes once a year. It's like Santa. It's situated halfway between Washington, D.C. and Moscow. The Pentagon still views this base as kind of really strategically important for deterring Russia and detecting incoming ICBMs.
There you have it. That's what I am telling you. And now he laid it out just for you. I wanted to show you this really quick. This is a resident of, this guy's Danish. Holy crap. He says, I think my country is failing. Greenland. Trump's push to make a deal isn't the problem. It's Denmark's lack of vision for the island. He says, here's the current situation and why U.S. Greenland deal could change everything. Let me click it. I thought I had clicked it. Says, NB Greenland situation is complex. If you're just learning about it, I suggest you check out my last post on Greenland for some context, and after that, scroll on. He says, I'm Danish. I'm strongly in favor of striking a deal with Trump regarding Greenland. Today, the state is a mess economically and so on. And a lot of people, except for the liberals on the island, feel that way as well. If I could have found those videos, you'd be looking at them right now. Anyway, shortly put, Greenland is Denmark's biggest unrealized opportunity. Greenland is massive in size and potential, strategically located in the Arctic, abundant in natural resources, we think, severely underdeveloped. Regrettably, Denmark lacks the resources and vision to unlock this potential. And you can see, I mean, this picture here says it all. Look at the size of Denmark and look at the size of Greenland. This country's supposed to make this country into anything. They're probably struggling to make this country the way as nice as they say that it is. So there you have that. And then he says, whoops, here we go. Where did it go? Severely underdeveloped. Regrettably, Denmark lacks the resources. And then right here he says, meanwhile, Greenland faces many issues. The right strategic investments could help reduce poverty and fix housing issues, tackle social issues and drug abuse, alcoholism, and violence, improve infrastructure and boost tourism, decrease I don't know why anybody would want. I'm pretty much living in Greenland in my state right now because of the weather, and I wish that wasn't the case. Decrease dependency on Denmark. Explore its vast natural resources. It's time to invest in Greenland's potential. And then he goes on to say, up until now, the efforts in this regard have been shallow. Denmark provides Greenland with $600 million annually in subsidies, but subsidies focus on maintenance, not growth. Infrastructure remains underdeveloped. Meaningful exploration of the island's resources is yet to happen, which is why I say they don't even know if this place has oil like they assume it has, for sure. Meaningful exploration. Denmark being a small country of 6 million people cannot lift this alone. Then he goes on to say, the European Union has discussed stepping in many times, but actions have been limited. In 2014, the European Union pledged 18 million for mining projects, but funding dried up quickly. No major projects materialized. Greenland's needs ultimately sidelined. Promises don't even advance Greenland. So actions do, he says, and there's the article on that. And then he goes on to say the Chinese have long-eyed interest in Greenland. In 2018, China offered to fully fund Nuuk's airport expansion as a first step towards a deeper relationship. China also expressed strong interest in mining Greenland's vast natural resource deposits. So when Trump tells you that this is going to happen with other countries, if not us, he's not messing around, guys. Like, do you want China that close to us? Do you seriously think that China should have control of anything to do with an island that is that close to us? I think you guys, I think a lot of people aren't thinking this through. So anyway, he goes on to say, however, in the northern hemisphere Chinese presence in the northern hemisphere poses significant geopolitical risks, so ultimately offers from China have been rejected. Instead, Denmark stepped in and funded 109 million, 33% of costs, of the new airport expansion to avoid Chinese involvement. Potential still left on the table. Then he goes on to say, but these efforts are just drops in the bucket of what is needed to unlock Greenland's full potential. Larger strategic investments will enhance core infrastructure such as transport, energy, and communication, expansion of key industries such as fishing, tourism, and renewables, living standards for the Greenlanders via education, healthcare, and jobs, advancement of exploration for natural resources. This is what Greenland deserves. And then he goes on. I'm not going to read all of this, dude. This is long. You can look this guy up here. This is from last year, though, so good luck. In recent years, the United States has ramped up investments in Greenland to counter foreign influence in the Arctic. Most noteworthy packages include 12.1 million aid in 2020 for resources, energy, and tourism, 10 million in investments in 2021 for mining and trade growth, which isn't a lot, reopening the U.S. new consulate in 2020, first since 1953, a clear signal of strategic intent. Lastly, I'll just leave off here. You get the gist. Nothing else has materialized under the Biden administration. It wasn't until Trump won the election in November 2024 the debate stirred up again. Unlike in 2019 when Trump first offered to buy Greenland, the geopolitical landscape has now completely shifted. This time around, Trump is not asking politely. And we'll just leave it there, but you get the idea. So guys, I mean, if you really, use your brains and think here, there's a reason we need Greenland. It's that simple. There's a major reason why we need Greenland. Lastly, I'll leave this with you. This is Trump speaking on it himself.
I recently signed an order to begin construction of the Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland from missile attack. We're going to call it the Golden Dome. We had the Iron Dome, but somehow, Gretchen, Golden Dome sounds better to me.
That is him announcing, this is last year, him announcing the Golden Dome, and they've started building the aspects to it. What those aspects are, I am unsure of just yet, because I do believe it's mostly just kind of where pre-planning is, I think, where they're at. Because this is going to be a huge project, because America's a huge country. And this will also help protect places like Europe and stuff if need be as well, supposedly to some degree. But if it doesn't, I really don't give a shit. Europe should be more worried about their own continent rather than importing, other continents to theirs by the handfuls. So anyway, guys, I hope that helped you understand a little bit more as to why we need Greenland, our history with Greenland. Let me know what you think in comments. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys again real soon.